The World Cup in London was to start in 4 days' time, 4 or 5 days. So both India and Pakistan had to travel from Seoul to London and play a match in the World Cup within 4 or 5 days. So we could, and today if you see, there should be a gap of at least 2-3 months. But Shahid in particular was a gifted player. He had wonderful stick work. In a small area of say 4 or 5 yards, he could dodge 2 or 3 Europeans. And
we were actually, to be honest, under house arrest. We had 2 guys with bodyguards here.
I still remember the first match against Pakistan. Everybody were expecting Adrian versus Sohail Abbas. Media and the journalists. And on the match day, she just showed up.
Australia, if you see in the first 15 minutes, they put so much pressure. They virtually push you off the ball. They're so sharp inside the deep that within the first 10-15 minutes, they take the lead of a couple of goals.
The first 7 minutes they finish it. Period. Because I think one of the only teams who could beat Australia any given day is Pakistan. If we start creating chances with field goals, that World Cup will remain in India.
But there's one reason I feel that we have a good chance. Most teams are either rebuilding or they have older players. Belgium has 4 players who have played more than 400 games. So they have a very aging team. Holland have very young players. A blend of youth and experience is Australia, and the other one is us.
I think everyone in this room would want to watch an indoor park match. There is, no matter what sport we play, end of the day, India, Pakistan players also have a very good relationship. No matter how we are on the field, there's no mercy, there's no peace. But off the field, we always end up saying Bhaijan.
Who's going to win the World Cup?
Probably Australia.
Australia, why?
Yes. Because it is the finest team in the World Cup.
India.
India, yeah, he's the one. But why?
India is our country.
India is our country and all Indians are my brothers and sisters. Come on, India is going to win the World Cup.
India have nice game.
India have nice gameplay, but you're not looking confident. He's looking confident. Why?
Because the Australia is the finest team and the fittest team in the World Cup. They build that attack very quickly, and because of that attack, they score many goals.
Who's your favorite Indian player? You don't know, and still you think India can win. See, this is what you call the patriot. All the best. Who's your favorite Indian?
Manpreet Singh.
Manpreet Singh.
I have India with my best wishes, so I am supporting Australia, but I want India to win the World Cup.
Lovely. So hello and welcome back to Sports with Taus. Today's story is gonna be about Hockey World Cup, which is gonna happen in Odisha in the next couple of days. हम जानेंगे हमारा पास्ट क्या रहा है फॉर्मर हॉकी प्लेयर्स से जिन्होंने देश यानी इंडिया को रिप्रेजेंट किया इन द पास्ट. स्पोर्ट्स जर्नलिस्ट एसोसिएशन ऑफ मुंबई के फंक्शन में former India players like Sumaya, Edgar Mascarenas, and Adrian D'Souza spoke about India's chances at the World Cup, playing against Pakistan in the past and so many other things. बढ़ने से पहले अगर आपने सब्सक्राइब नहीं किया चैनल को तो डेफिनेटली करिए.
Edgar Mascarenas Senior, 1990 World Cup. Last but not least, our very own Adrian D'Souza, 2-time World Cup. Team and their prospects. Questions from the audience. Hopefully you guys will have the 82 World Cup in Mumbai.
Good evening. You raked up the past and you're probably, stirring up old wounds. But 82 was a wonderful experience because we came closest to the semis. We were playing Australia in the last match here in Mumbai. The World Cup was in Mumbai in 82. And we required a draw in the last match. And we were 1-1. And in the last few minutes, Hazel has scored a goal. So it was probably over the last few years, one of the times that we came closest to making the semis. Wonderful team. I think we had the top scorer of the tournament from India at that time. He was the top scorer in the entire World Cup. Rajinder Singh Senior, he had 12 goals, and that was some solace that we had. The experience in '86 is not much to write home, but I'd like to highlight one point. The Asian Games was held in Korea, in Seoul, and somehow because of some faulty scheduling, the World Cup in London was to start in 4 days' time, 4 or 5 days. So both India and Pakistan had to travel from Seoul to London and play a match in the World Cup within 4 or 5 days. So you could, and today if you see, there should be a gap of at least 2-3 months. So it is little wonder then that both of us were fighting for the 11th and 12th place, because not many people remember that. But, sorry? Yeah, with Wilsden. But the tournament of Asian Games, which is a very tough tournament, was in Seoul, and both the teams travelled all the way to London to play. So probably that's one of the things. But again, the solace there was Mohammad Shahid, who was a inside left, a mercurial player, most of you old-timers may remember. He was adjudged the player of the tournament, so probably some solace in that. So wonderful experience. We had some great teams and great colleagues.
Youngsters will not know much about Shahid. Can you just share some light on him as a player, as a teammate, as a colleague?
Mohammad Shahid, along with Mervyn Fernandes and me, we played 3 Olympics together, 1980, 84 and 88. And Mohammad Shahid, with that forward line, these were the 3 of our key, Mohammad Shahid, Mervyn Fernandes and Zafar Iqbal. So this was a fantastic combination. I think people who seen hockey in the 80s don't remember all of us because we were somewhere in the background. But Shahid in particular was a gifted player. You know, he had wonderful stick work. In a small area of say 4 or 5 yards, he could dodge 2 or 3 Europeans, and they would be probably even falling backwards. He was so adept at the dribble. So he's a once in a lifetime player, if you may call him that. And it was an honor to play with both Mervyn and Shahid in all the 3 Olympic Games.
Edgar has some interesting stories about the 1990 Lahore World Cup. I think there was some India-Pak tension that time.
Before I go to 1992, I was a ball boy for your World Cup. Nobody knows this. 1982, sorry. It was in Bombay, and I was the ball boy chosen from Don Bosco High School at that time. Okay, 1990, a very eventful year actually. We did quite badly. We finished 11th. I think one of the worst performances of an Indian team at the World Cup. But there was a lot happening in 1990. If you remember, tensions between India and Pakistan were at its height. And I clearly remember, so when we landed, when the aeroplane landed on the tarmac, Lahore airport, and we are going, and suddenly we see all these, sirens, and so we were escorted into a remote kind of an area, got down from there and went straight away from an exit, because there was a protest outside. So our bags were given to us at the airport. We were actually, to be honest, under house arrest, because each of us in our room, Jude was my roommate. We had 2 guys with bodyguards we had, and we couldn't leave the hotel because the threat at that time was very. I don't know if you remember, 1990 was a height of all the tensions. Anyway, having said that, so we played the tournament. Mentally, we were quite in a bad way actually, because even in the stadium we had a lot of things happening in the background. So we did perform very well. And just to give you not a comparison, just before that we played the Asia Cup finals in Delhi, and we lost to Pakistan. Sujit missed a penalty, 2-1. It was about a month before, it was in December, and the Pakistan team was same. The Indian crowd was after them, but after they won the match, they gave them a standing ovation. The Indian public, it was jam-packed stadium, that time National Stadium. So then when we went to Pakistan, it was a totally, I saw something I've never seen in my life, and it was quite tense actually to play that tournament. And we managed whatever we did, and we didn't do very well actually. So that was my experience. Yeah.
But were you afraid? Was it a threat to life? Did you experience the threat to life as such, or?
No, they were excellent. They looked after the team. I mean, they went beyond. The Pakistanis went beyond whatever they could do for us to make us feel comfortable. But it just was the tension in that was at that time was very high. So we couldn't leave the hotel. We had to just go to the ground, come back. We couldn't practice.
So even training was behind closed doors, no spectators to watch.
Kind
training.
of. We hardly trained because we couldn't go to train.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. Stretching in the hotel. So that was 1990. Quite an experience, I must say.
the bar at Monsoon Cat back first, and then of course Delhi.
Well, good evening everybody and Happy New Year. Hopefully the Indian team by the end of this month will be with the long-awaited trophy. That's where we are. I think that's why we are here today. But after hearing Sumaya sir and Edgar, well, today I got down at King Circle. It's been a while since I took a train towards this side, and this was actually the place where Mr. Bawa found me in Khalsa College. And that's where dreams turned into reality. So we took our own sweet time today from the station to here. And the only difference is I didn't have a kit bag. I used to carry my kit bag, and Suraj is the lucky one who has a wheel nowadays in their kit bag, but we didn't have it. But I still remember in 2006 World Cup for Mönchengladbach, that was the first time the federation had given us a break for around 10 days or 2 weeks. And prior to that, we have never experienced a break. It was always a camp, you're selected and you go for a tour. So you never get to go home. So this time they decided, okay, we are going to give the freedom that everybody gets to go home, and everybody were happy obviously because you're getting to meet your loved ones. The unfortunate part was, I still remember taking my flight from Bombay to Delhi, and we landed at about 9 or 10 in the morning, and the first thing you read in the news is Sandeep Singh is shot. So we had to go into a tournament trying to figure it out, because you know how it works. Was he shot on purpose? Was he accidentally shot? Because we couldn't actually believe that it's possible that in a train you can be shot through like, it made no sense to us. But that's where Raghunath came in. And we had good coaches, Arinder sir and Bhaskaran, everybody, the bunch was good. We didn't have a great outing in the tournament. We definitely experienced what it is to play in Germany, because Germans back then were a no-go. It's like Australia was beatable more than Germany. That was the way our tournament started. Like all of us and I think after that they stopped giving breaks for a while, because it kind of, it overturned the expectations. 2010 World Cup, as most of you all know, how our build-up happened to that tournament. Well, I was in the helm of many situations, but as a player, I still remember the first match against Pakistan. Everybody were expecting Adrian versus Sohail Abbas. Everybody, including me. So everybody thought that, okay, Adrian is going to start. I still remember the media and the journalists.
So most of the hockey preview copies were Adrian versus. Okay.
Yeah, and on the match day, she just showed up. So both of us being roommates, we ourselves were we were not nervous, but we were just puzzled by Plasa's decision, but I think it was the right one. Back then, as a player, as a goalkeeper, definitely you want to play. It's like the World Cup, it's in Delhi. But we clinched the first match in such a way that I think that entire aura around New Delhi stadium was fascinating. But what we are going to witness now in Odisha, I think it's more like a magical world, what is happening right now in Rourkela and Bhubaneswar, and anyone over here, I really wish and I really hope that you'll make it for any of the match, especially Father Crispino. Thanks for having us here. But let's hope, and we all, I think, have the same motive and the same wish that India actually wins the World Cup. It's so important. And I'm sure, sir, I have one question. World Cup, during those days, did you all have quarterfinals and semi-finals? It was only semis, right? So 2 pools would be there. So yeah, I think from 2018, if I'm not mistaken, they started the quarterfinal system, in fact, even now. So we all know that there are chances, which would be for us, the 2 World Cups, if you lose, in fact, even the Olympics, if you lose the first 2 games, you knew you were not through. So then it's all about ranking and pride. But right now, the way the system is, it still gives you hope in this World Cup. Even if you come 3rd in the league, in your pool, you still have a chance to win the World Cup. So that's the best part about these few changes that I have witnessed. Forget the rules on the field, but like as a player, Suraj being here, who's presently in the national camp, but like we were just talking about it, like it gives you so much chance that you have hope to qualify. Otherwise, back then, first match you would get Australia, second match Netherlands, then you lose 2 games, then third match you would get the weakest team. But how do you succeed? Because you can't qualify. So that's one great system change that I have seen, and I think and I hope that India does take chances and makes it to the finals.
I'll just take, was that a problem, and why do you think it happened?
One of the biggest changes, and I have to respect the opponents because I used to charge them. In Mönchengladbach, what happened is there were many goals scored by indirect goals. So I have to accept that the opponents were already figured out our ways in spite of us defending our penalty corners the way we planned. So the direct would always be taken by me. Then we would have Viren, Ignace, Dilip Bhai, any other first rusher, whoever was there. So that is my personal experience, that we noticed that teams like Germany and the top teams, they kind of overpowered us in the mind game, like in strategies. But the late goals, I think not only in 2006, also in 2010, I think it's been one of the biggest criteria wherever you read in the media that we always consider in the dying hours. And our mental strength has been the biggest advantage right now, where we have overpowered those days of conceding in the late, and definitely the 4 quarters, which is making a big difference now.
Thanks, Adrian. I'll put a question to Edgar, because the late conceding of goals we put down to fitness or fatigue or mental toughness or weakness. I think Edgar runs a successful enterprise on fitness. He can answer the question for us. The importance of fitness in modern hockey, Edgar.
So actually fitness, the key in fitness, all the players who are playing every second or third day, is recovery. So in a tournament of this nature, it is the back-end stuff, and you will see the difference in the Olympics. The recent Olympics, we came third. The only difference is the fitness levels. You could see it. The fitness levels were so high. It was because they were recovering fast for the next game. Now the recovery, the guys behind the scene, the team behind the scene, the team behind the team, the physios, the guys working behind, those are the guys who are doing a fantastic job. Am I right? Those who are in the camp now. So that has made the difference in what is happening right now. The fitness levels are very high. And scientific training, that is the key. To peak at the right time, to mellow, to get the graph down and then peak at the right time is very important. Scientifically, they are doing a fantastic job, I think. And that's the difference, if you ask me, why the Indian team is ranked number 5 and 6 now. We were always skillful, but we used to fade out during the matches. Physical fitness and mental strength, these are the two. Physical, so when you get physically tired, automatically the mind switches off. So that's the cycle. So the recovery is the key. What they do in that recovery phase is the key. And that's what's the difference now, I think.
A professional backroom staff, veteran goalkeeper, a friend of yours in the Indian team, Jayesh, and a youngster in Krishan Patak. What do you make of this combination at the World Cup?
Back then, it would always be one goalkeeper playing. Unless he has a bad game, then okay, the next goalkeeper is going to get a chance. But what we've been seeing lately, in the last decade, let's say 8 years or so, especially after the 4-quarter rule, that coaches have been giving opportunities to the other goalkeepers, no matter what the consequences. So every goalkeeper would be shuffling every quarter. So even if Srijesh had the best quarter in his life, he knew he was going to be benched for the second quarter.
So is that fair, you think, or?
It's fair in tournaments where you are upgrading your team. It's fair in tournaments where you're building up a stronger team to know the level of the other goalkeeper. Because if you don't try the other goalkeeper and you wait for a bad day by Srijesh, I think that's going to take another 6 years. So how do you know if Krishan Patak, Suraj Karkera or any other goalkeeper is good in that team? So the only way is like when India went to Australia, Test series, when India had Pro League games. These are the games where you can try out definitions of giving an opportunity. In fact, even in the World Cup, I believe the first two games are so important for us that by the time we play Wales, we'll already know where we are going to be in the pool. So that's another place where you can try out between the goalkeepers. I will accept the fact that there is a margin between Srijesh and Krishan Pathak at the moment, which is agreeable to everybody. The amount of matches Srijesh has played, the amount of medals he's got us, he's not only like a player, goalkeeper to me, he's like a younger brother. So watching him win a medal is basically me winning one. So that's how much pride I take in it. But I'm not saying it's depriving of confidence level, because you're already ready for it. So even if you had a bad game, bad quarter, anyway Krishan Pathak or the other goalkeeper is going to come in. But these are the concepts which are very important. So if tomorrow something happens to the number one goalkeeper, X, Y, Z, or in the World Cup, let's say Srijesh, you know that Krishan Pathak has played before. So you know what you're going to accept, be ready for, unless you're just putting him into the main event without any match experience. And for goalkeepers, it is so important to have match experience. You can be the best goalkeeper in the training camp, but if you have no match experience, and looking at the crowd, what we're going to expect in Raulkela and Bhubaneswar, that's another pressure. Because I experienced that in Delhi, a personal experience. I played the next match against Australia. We lost pretty badly, more like a tennis game. And I was booed, which is acceptable. But there was a penalty stroke which Jamie Dwyer missed. And for that, I became a hero, in spite of losing 6-1 at that point of time. So you have to be mentally strong and you have to be ready. So I think it's a very good concept, but where you use it is very important. There should always be this concept of using one goalkeeper.
Yes.
So that's how you have 17 players and one goalkeeper. So you get an additional player. So these are the things in fact, nowadays you can take off the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
So many things are coming out. As long as goalkeepers are staying, I'm happy.
What is with India and Australia? I think we concede our maximum goals against them. 2010 Commonwealth Games final, maybe the last Commonwealth Games final, the test series we lost again. Are we overawed by their field presence, or is it something beyond really hockey?
If I knew that answer, I would have been the coach of the national team. But honestly, it's a very difficult question to answer. The style of playing of Australia is completely different from what a European team plays. So in the past, we were not very comfortable playing against both styles. Probably we were more comfortable playing against Asian style. Over the last 4 or 5 years, somehow we've been able to conquer that fear of playing European style game. So we're not worried about man-to-man marking. We play, we can manage their counter-attacks. But Australia, if you see in the first 15 minutes, they put so much pressure. They virtually push you off the ball. And every time they come into your circle, they're so sharp inside the D that within the first 10-15 minutes, they take a lead of a couple of goals, which then puts you back. So I think managing that, especially the initial aggression of the Australian team, probably one of the things that could be tried is a 70 press, which is not a full court press, but maybe 60-70 press, where you ensure that you are putting them under considerable pressure, but you're not keeping a gap between your first line of defense and your last line of defense. So it gives them lesser space to play. Back in '83, we had a test series against Australia, and the first 2 matches were in Melbourne. And they had the likes of Rick Charlesworth, Terry Walsh, Colin Batch, the whole, probably a better team than this Australian team. Mr. Balkishan was our coach, so he told us, you keep the ball in that half and don't play with a push. Because if you play with a push, the Aussies come close to you and with their body they nudge you off possession. So you play with the hit, at least in the first 10-15 minutes, keep the ball that side, and then they will come out and then you can count. We beat them 3-0 in a test match, and then in the second match we beat them 2-1. Of course, they beat us in Perth in the 2 other matches. We drew the series. But if you don't change your style of playing and you continue to play like you're playing against an Asian team or a European team and try to play close possession, Aussies have better chance to push you off the ball. and they will attack you in the first 10-15 minutes and take a lead. And once that happens, you have to go out and play. So I think that these are the couple of things that come to my mind from my experience, and we need to. I think they did a very good thing by taking the team to Australia. Just I think in December. So we played 5 matches. We may have conceded 24 goals, but we scored 16 or thereabouts. Yeah, we scored about 15 goals. So it augurs well for our attacking play. To score 15-16 goals against an Australian team is very difficult. But conceding, we need to look at our defensive shape, especially in matches like Australia, because once you lose your shape, you completely are exposing yourself. There's a tendency of our team to play too much of attacking hockey, and in that process, you tend to lose shape in defense. So I think that is one of the areas we need to look at, and I hope we meet Australia only in the final.
How tough is it to defend against these Aussies? Are they made of a different material? What's it like?
As Somaya sir said, the first 10 minutes, in fact now in the new system, the first quarter, so 7 minutes, the first 7 minutes they finish it, period. Number 2, they never play to the scoreboard, they only play to the whistle. And as you all know what happened in 2010 Commonwealth Games, they were leading India in the finals 7-1, 7-0, last 60 seconds. Any team in the world would have just given up their sticks and celebrated. Any team. They scored another goal. This is what Australia is all about. Now, individually, I've been around Jamie Dwyer in the PHL and all these events, but before that, we used to, especially in Francia, in a place like Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, where it's humanly impossible to play one match, and you have Australia staying in the same hotel. After beating us or beating anybody, they would end up in the gym, while we would end up in the restaurant or dining hall to eat and to sleep. These are the changes that we have been adapting. I don't want to praise anyone individually, but the system has been changing, as Edgar is saying, as Somaya sir is saying, that the back end is so important, the recovery is so important. And we used to think like, why is Brent Livermore doing that? Like, abhi to jeet ke aaya, abhi aur kiska lega raat ko? These are the questions. But now when you look at it, the way we have information, we have access. I think every kid over here knows what's happening and who's the Indian team because of information, because of YouTube. If you kind of change that and you adopt your own style, the only team, please correct me if I'm wrong, I think you all would have better knowledge about this. I think one of the only teams who could beat Australia any given day is Pakistan. Because Pakistan have a style of playing, as sir said, hit the ball, let them do the work, you tackle and then you counter. Pakistan is one of the only teams, as in one of the only Asian teams, who will always give Australia a hard time. No matter you're playing in juniors, seniors, Tri-Nation, series, and then when Pakistan plays the next team, they lose 6-0. So it's like Australia's only threat has been Pakistan, one of the Asian countries. What India need to do right now, as sir said, hopefully we meet them in the finals, we have to create opportunities. We might get 2 chances, but we need to score. We cannot miss. That's been one of the greatest faults of ours or setbacks, that we would get like 4 chances in an Australian match, maybe in the first half or first quarter, and we would not score. They would get half a chance, half, not even full, and they would end up making it look like it's so easy. So it's going to be a tough ball, and the 5-match series that happened, 5 matches, right? In Australia, I think 4, yeah. And after scoring 15 goals, Akashdeep, I think that's been one of his reasons why he's made a comeback, because scoring a hat-trick, winning almost, I think he was a top scorer as a field goal player. That is very important for India. We cannot only depend on penalty corners. If we start creating chances with field goals, that World Cup will remain in India.
We have a new captain in Harmanpreet Singh, also our main crack flicker. You think it's a good opportunity for him to excel here, or would that added responsibility add pressure on him, since he's the only flicker for the team at big tournament in your own backyard?
Personally, I felt Manpreet had done a wonderful job as captain.
Yes, yes.
I think he led from the front, though he's a midfield player. His style of playing used to motivate the team, and he did a wonderful job. But I think the selectors and the coach have done a good thing by giving Harmanpreet the responsibility. He's very cool, calm and composed on the field. He has all the attributes of a very good captain. And being slightly younger than Manpreet in age, he will get a lot of energy and enthusiasm as a captain. He has been voted the best player by FIH last time. He has top scored in most tournaments as in his short corners, in his drag flicks. I think out of the 4 or 5 best drag flickers in the world, one is of course Hendricks from Belgium. Alexander Hendricks, is he? Yeah, Alexander Hendricks. Then you have the Argentine who's playing for Germany now. There's Gonzalo Elliott now plays, so he's one of the good drag flickers. You have Blake Gowers from Australia. And you have another one from Germany. But out of the 5, I think he has been one of the most consistent. So having him as a leader of the team means a lot. It'll be an inspiration for the others. And by him playing in the manner he does in such a cool and composed way, I think it will rub off on the other players. So though I was a little disappointed that Manpreet, though I have a soft corner for him being a midfielder, and he plays with a lot of heart. I think he's a wonderful player, but I think Harmanpreet...
He's an Olympic bronze winning captain as well, so...
Yeah, very successful captain in recent times. But I think getting Harmanpreet will infuse fresh energy, and his cool demeanor will rub off on the rest of the team.
Let's hope Manpreet is not disappointed at not being made captain. I hope that will happen.
No, I think they are from the same establishment. You know, a lot of boys have come from those hostels in Punjab, those academies in Punjab. They've all grown up together. They have mutual respect and great bonding. So I don't think so. He's had his good run. I think he will support Manpreet and Harmanpreet. I think they work well as a team.
If anyone has, just pass the mic to Flo.
That's a difficult question.
Just pass the mic.
But there's one reason I feel that we have a good chance. Most teams are either rebuilding or they have older players. Belgium has 4 players who have played more than 400 games or 300 games. And they have another 3-4 players who are close to 300 games. So they have a very aging team. The other teams like Germany and Holland have very young players. The only team that has a balance of blend of youth and experience is Australia, and the other one is us. Many of these players are young, but they have played a lot of hockey at international level. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity for us. If this batch finishes off their term, we may not get a similar batch for a few more years. So they have a lot of confidence because of the Olympics. So I'm confident they will do very well. And if we top the pool, we go directly into the quarterfinals. Adrian was mentioning about the new format. So out of the 4 teams in the pool, the team that tops goes directly to the quarterfinals. The second and third play a crossover. Yeah. So, but coming top of our pool is a challenge. We have England and we have Spain. Both are wonderful teams. So to qualify, we have to be on the top of our game. But it's the best chance to win. We have a balanced team and a fairly experienced team. So I'm hopeful that they will come back with a medal. I won't say that they would win, but definitely a strong medal contender.
And you just came out with some great stuff, cool stuff. Will you miss Pakistan this time? I mean, they have not been qualifying of late, but I mean, there must be something like keen to watch India-Pakistan, but they never qualify. A lot of things they are lacking in their system. So will you miss them, and how much?
As a sports lover, as a hockey lover, yes. Pakistan have played such creative and such positive hockey. They've never been defense oriented. So as a lover of hockey and a lover of sport, definitely we will miss them. And we are very keen, at least personally I feel I've played some wonderful matches. I went to Pakistan 9 times, 4 different test series, so many tournaments. So I'm a great admirer of their game. Hoping for the benefit of world hockey that they come back, because the style of hockey is different. They've always been creative and very aggressive in attack, which attracts people. So personally, I would miss them. I'm hoping that at some time or the other in the near future that they get back onto the international scene.
I think everyone in this room would want to watch an Indo-Pak match. There is, no matter what sport we play, even one chess game would be enough to watch. Saying India-Pakistan is going to be a great game. In fact, I have to thank Sohail Abbas in certain ways, because if not for him, I would not have made so many articles in the papers, because it became like a 1v1, which we also didn't know about it. You know, but as Somaya sir said, they really need a transition, because now we have all established the fact. It's like, for example, I think now the debate over Messi and Ronaldo is over completely. So the debate of India-Pakistan is also over right now in present hockey. So we are not only ranked 6th because we are doing well certain days, but we are consistent. Whereas Pakistan needs to get that. And as sir said, you know, I think we all, and Edgar has played the World Cup there. Like Lahore, that's like a mansion. I think that's like a mecca of Pakistan hockey. Because while I went to play the league there, yeah, we had almost the same rule that we could not leave the rooms and all that stuff. But luckily we also kind of have the same skin type, so I could just sneak out sometimes. But yeah, it was a league. But and Adnan Zakir, so you're the Karachi local, so you like they compare Mumbai to, as in this thing, Karachi is Mumbai. So they say, yeah, apna Mumbai, and okay, Mumbai. But we all love to play against Pakistan. You know, even when you go back home, even if you lose, I think the one person who's really angry is your family. And as a goalkeeper, it's like, you conceded a goal and the Salman Akbar played well. Like, these were the conversations I've grown up with. I'm like, okay, but why you are supporting him? Usne acha khela aaj. But end of the day, India-Pakistan players also have a very good relationship. Because no matter how we are on the field, there's no mercy, there's no peace. But off the field, we always end up saying, Bhaijan, kya ho gaya? So we will miss Pakistan, and hopefully they have a good transition and they actually come up in the top 10.
Sport of hockey needs Pakistan, because India-Pakistan is a different dynamic. It will add a different dynamic to the sport, and it's like the Europeans are dominating, or the South Americans are coming. India-Pakistan is very key for viewership. You know how important it is, eyeballs watching. So Pakistan is very important. As Adrian said, the guys who looked after us in Pakistan were the Pakistan players.
Okay.
Yeah, they used to come to our room, they used to look after us, kya chahiye aapko, kya chahiye. You know, it was very warm between the players. On the ground, it was war, but once you're off the ground, all the players, they were best friends.
The card in my life I've got is against Pakistan. Yellow card, yeah. That something happened, as in I deserved that yellow card, but it was in the heat of the moment. Like, you made a save, and then you went to save the rebound, but there was a player lying down, and you kind of walked, as in it. You know, as a goalkeeper, what you say, you just walked over him
By mistake.
by mistake. But that was the first time Srijesh got an opportunity in the junior team, and we lost, and Harinder Singh was our coach, so imagine what happened to me after the match. But sorry sir, that was the only time I got a yellow card, and I have no regret. I'm just feeling sad that we lost that match.
Yeah, so from Tokyo to the World Cup here, in terms of strategy, what do you think they would have focused on overall? And the Adrian, you cannot just say, because you can talk a lot about Srijit. What would I have told Srijit? You know, the areas you know, does he have to be told it all? It's also a mission for it. And also, you talked about the fitness and recovery. Do you think how much they would have worked on it?
I think the important thing for the management on their hand was to ensure that people who were a little aging, to find adequate substitutes for them. So they used the Asia Cup and the other tournaments to identify youngsters. So from that exercise, Abhishek and Sukhjit, who are now come into the team, and Jarmanpreet. So these are the three that they tried out amongst others. They tried out a host of youngsters in the intervening tournaments, and from them they identified these three players who are going to play. Suraj also was given a chance for that, so he probably is waiting in the wings. very unfortunate to miss a place in the World Cup team. But this is the first thing that the management had to do, is to try and get younger legs into and probably guys who have many more years ahead. The second part, what Edgar had mentioned about fitness, both the physical trainers who were in charge of physical conditioning left after the Olympics. So they had to identify very strong replacements, because that was the strength of the team, like he said. So they have been able to identify those people worked with the team for 6, 7 or 8 years. So for them to come in, settle down, know players, have person-specific training, it's not one size fits all. You've got to have training based on an individual's body, his capacity to take training. So these were the two important things of getting the team prepared. But I think the good part they have done was exposing the team to matches. It's not, when we were there, we used to play 7, 8 months in training camp. So they have given chance, exposure for the team. There's been a combination of training as well as match exposure. So these are the things that they have done in the intervening period with the objective to raise the performance of the team and move them from the third position up to a higher position. That's what I think there.
One destructive rule as far as Asian hockey is concerned.
Recent rules have all worked in our favor, because what I feel we have benefited from is the 4 quarters where you get breathing space after every 15 minutes. We benefited from the rolling substitution, where people now play for a short burst of 10-15 minutes, and then you get some recovery period of 10-15 minutes before coming on again. And the other one is the self-start rule, where you don't need to make a pass. So I feel all these rules that have come in have worked in our benefit. You could say this in the past, when the sticks rule was changed or the turning rule had changed. But in these 3, and I feel one of the reasons that we are doing well is that these 3 rules are working in the favor of Asian teams and making them more effective, and probably a consistency right from the first match to the last match. Otherwise, we would play in patches, we would play 1 or 2 good matches, and probably the fitness level is to get hit. Here, you're playing only for a 15-20 minute burst, coming off, resting and going in. I think that suits our style. And that's the reason I feel that these 3 rules in particular have helped Asian.
Personally, I feel now there's a rule where if you break the line in penalty corners, you have to go to the half line, which means I couldn't charge anymore. Like personally, I always found that offensive when the rule was applied, and because there were not many goalkeepers charging, and it kind of hit me personally, which is fine. But India, as Sir said, has used these rules. In the start, it was hard, especially the self-start rule. Yeah. And the reason for that was everybody in Europe were doing it except India. Let's take, for example, 4 quarters. When did 4 quarters come in our national leagues? It came much later. Whereas in Europe, they had already practiced, they were already using it. By the time it would come to India, we were still playing 2 halves. So all these things in the start was a bit of a hurdle for the Indian team. But today, as Sir said, it's so important to get that 2 minutes break. Even if you're not hearing or listening to your coach, because at that point of time, your mind is somewhere else. And if you have a coach who's just hounding at you, or ye karna hai, wo karna hai, nothing goes in any player's head. But it's so important to breathe. It's so important to calm down. Whereas other teams like Australia, they don't need this. They don't. They're happy with 35 because they have 1 goal and 1 goal only, play to the whistle. Whereas we would look at the time, last 2 minutes hai, 30 seconds hai. Calm down, keep the ball in control. And as viewers, you can always see what's going to happen. Because the moment India is under pressure, we know, okay, abhi penalty corner hona hai. Take for example the Olympics, Germany, the last penalty corner. Like everyone knew there's a penalty corner coming, the way the match was set up. In fact, even Srijesh knew it's going to be a penalty corner. There was so much pressure. It's for that magical save that happened, we got what we got at that given day. So the rules have now we have learned to adapt and make use of them. In fact, even as Manpreet mentions about, his biggest asset today is the fast start. Because he already has a vision where he knows what he's going to do, but nobody knows it, only him. So the moment he gets there, he just starts, and then he might either go all attack or he might just rotate. So we have been using these rules to our benefits, and hopefully we kind of make completely use of that in the World Cup.
Two rules which sometimes I feel where it's left to the discretion of the umpire, where I feel I've been watching on TV that I feel we are getting the wrong end of the stick. One is where they give a card, even for a tackle stick on stick check, they give a green card. And we invariably are playing with 10 players. If you see in any of the tournaments that we play, they are so strict with that rule, especially against India, that there are many green cards and yellow cards shown. And invariably for about 30% or 40% of the match, you're playing one shot. And the second, which is a more recent rule, if you, on the baseline, when you're defending, if you push the ball out, even, normally it used to be given a long corner. Now it's a penalty corner. It's a very recent rule in the last one or two tournaments. So by chance, even if you deflect the ball on behind your baseline, penalty corner. So these two rules have been, working against us if you ask. But the rest of the rules, I agree with Adrian, we've adapted well.
Especially coming at the back of the Olympic medal, do you think a World Cup at home can sort of spur them, or is it added pressure, or how do you look?
Well, firstly, I think it's a mix of both. And if we have to talk about Tokyo Olympics, I think one of the main reasons why I personally feel, and I'm sure now if you track back what happened during the Tokyo Olympics, was every player, we have Suraj, I think every player had to do a COVID test every second day or every day. They couldn't meet anyone. These guys were together for almost a year or so, in that we all knew what happened to us as individuals living in Mumbai or wherever we were. Even to travel was a hassle. Whereas these guys, I think that's where their bonding happened. Like how do you say, like sometimes some situations create some magical events, and that is one major reason why India was so strong in the Tokyo Olympics, is because they all lived together for 300 and plus days, or eventually how many days, whereas the foreign players, they have this system where they have to follow a program, and probably 1 month or 3 weeks before the tournament, they all meet up in one place. They couldn't do that because everybody was in their house, and you know how they are with their rules. Like if you cannot go, you cannot go. Yeah, at least we'll show some fake ID card and move around. But there, you couldn't go. So by the time they developed, India had actually grown to a level where the way women's played. Like I've never watched women's hockey, reach that level in such a short span of time. Yes, the coach did a great job, the management was there, but the unity, that all happened during that lockdown or whatever we call it, but during the COVID time. And that you can see them taking it to another level. Now coming back to the pressure, the FIH Pro League, and we know whoever's been to Bhubaneswar, who has played the HIL, it's a magical place to play hockey. Like New Delhi, respect, but playing in Bhubaneswar and Rourkela, I would really want to play there. Like get back and probably give a battle to Srijesh and try and get my spot back. But it's a place where there's going to be pressure, no doubt. We are Indians. We can't take losing. The moment you see your team is losing, some words will come out which are not helpful or not grateful to your teammates. But the way the team has been being together, and as Edgar said, the back office, you have Shivendra Singh, which not many people are talking about, which I agree, because let's deal with it. He's also been a World Cupper. He used to always salute after scoring a goal. But today he's not only teaching the forwards the skills, but he's also helping the goalkeepers. It's so important to have a player like him who's coaching a goalkeeper or training goalkeepers, because he knows the weakness of a goalkeeper. But as a team-wise, the first 2 matches are so important for India, because that sets up your tone and your consistency matters. So whatever happens by the time we reach Wales, it all starts from the entire system. But Rourkela it actually looks like the Olympic Games, or I think the next Asian Games is going to be in Rourkela or Bhubaneswar. I think that is the next goal. But the advantage we have as the Indian team is that we've been so united together since the entire COVID, not only between us but also between the team, that this looks like it's going to be, as we all are hoping, that our tournament.
With a token for Somaya sir.
That very, yeah, that's good.